I didn't see you there. I just got back from orbit. What's that, you may ask? That's when you orbit around the planet. Did you know that the first Earthling to orbit our planet was just 2 years old? Plucked from the streets of Moscow, barely more than 1 week before her historic launch. Her name was Laika, and she was a terrier mutt, and by all accounts, a good dog. Her 1957 flight paved the way for space exploration back when scientists didn't know spaceflight was lethal for living things. And since humans are explorers, they've always been lured over the horizon to find food or more space to make profit or just to see what's beyond those trees or mountains. Airplanes shortened distances, simplified travel, and showed us Earth from a new perspective, and by the middle of the last century, we aimed even higher. The first steps into space began as a race between the United States and the former Soviet Union rivals in a global struggle for power. Laika was followed into orbit 4 years later by the first human, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri A. Gagarin. With Earth's orbit achieved, we turned our sights to the moon. The United States landed 2 astronauts on Stark's surface in 1969, and 5 more manned missions followed. The U.S. National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, launched probes to study the solar system. Manned space stations began glittering in the sky as NASA developed reusable spacecraft, space shuttle orbiters, to ferry astronauts and satellites to orbit. Space travel technology had advanced light years in just 3 decades. Space travel is nothing like in the movies. Getting from A to B requires complex calculations involving inertia and gravity, literally rocket science. It's a slingshot from planet to planet, or moon, across the solar system. The Voyager mission of 1970s took advantage of a rare alignment of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune to shave off nearly 20 years of travel time. Space is also dangerous. More than 20 astronauts have died doing the job. But don't worry, I'm sure we'll be just fine. Plus, it hasn't stopped anyone from signing up and blasting off. NASA's shuttle program has ended, but private companies are readying their own space programs. A company called Planetary Resource plans to send out robot astronauts to the asteroid belt to mine for precious metals. Another company, named SpaceX, is hoping to land civilian astronauts on Mars, the next step into the solar system, in 20 years. NASA and other civilian companies are planning their own Mars missions. Maybe you'll be a member of one, but don't forget to bring your dog. NASA is the U.S. government agency responsible for leading the nation's explorations of space. Its mission is to reach for new heights and reveal the unknown so that what we do and learn will benefit all humankind. Since its formation in 1958, NASA has taken to the skies both on and off Earth. Today, NASA consists of 10 different centers spread around the country, but it got its start by putting together pieces from existing agencies. The U.S. wasn't far behind their Cold War rivals. After some setbacks and failed rocket launches, the first U.S. satellite, Explorer 1, reached orbit on January 31st, 1958. Not happy with simply circling the Earth, Explorer 1 sought to study the planet and its environment. Explorer 1 contained experiments that helped to identify the Van Allen radiation belts that surrounded the planet. In 1958, the United States started its space exploration operations under a new agency, NASA, which replaced the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. Founded in 1915 to explore aeronautical research while airplanes were just starting to take flight. Also absorbed by NASA were Langley Research Center in Virginia and Ames Research Center in California, both still operational today. NASA also incorporated other science groups, such as the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, and the Army Ballistic Missile Agency in Huntsville, Alabama. Since then, NASA has launched a series of satellites, orbiters, and landers to explore Earth, the Moon, and other planets, and distant reaches of space. What's that? What's that? Telescope guy, what's this? I don't know what's going on. I can't get a visual. Keyboard guy analysis. I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. I think the ship's been hit. What do you mean we hit something? And why is the power out? Get it back on now. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. I'm on it. Oh, the power's back on. Thank goodness we had this high-tech ship made out of a special type of metal that allows us to take impacts from space without getting too seriously damaged. Speaking of high-tech, did you know that on the first spacecraft to go into space, there was less technology than there is in an average smartphone today? Are you sure about that? Hey, wow, he's right. Hey, telescope guy, what do you call a sad spaceship? I don't know. What do you call a sad spaceship? A crying saucer. Boo! Get off the stage! Boy, I sure am glad to have all this technology readily available, allowing us to explore our universe better than ever before. See you later, alligator.